superhuman.com, and you can click on shows to find all of the recent shows there as well. So Whitney, and I know for myself, one of the things that I have to do is kind of listen to things over and over to get it. And it's amazing how this information is really being put out to humanity in a way that we can learn it. Mr. Keshe isn't just saying, oh, here, we're going to manufacture it and give it to you. He's saying, here, let's let the collective learn this new way of thinking about our science, of being able to practice, kind of like we're in elementary school. You know, we've got to practice and do all these elementary phases of putting this stuff together and getting how plasma energy works, bringing together the magnetic and gravitational fields to pull energy into form out of the surrounding field that's active around us all the time anyway. And Whitney, you are what I call a spatial thinker. One of my friends explained to me once, I was with a guy who was sort of a genius and was also a brilliant artist, dentist, musician. And his dad had him and his brother tested when they were in school. And they said, well, there's spatial thinkers and there's, what's the other word?
What is that other one?
It's conceptual. So spatial and conceptual, and this is just one way of dividing up how we think, but spatial thinkers are good at music, they're good at math, they're good at art, they're good at putting things together. And conceptual thinkers are more good at transmitting ideas. That's what I do. I'm a writer, I write books, I do shows. I'm trying to help get information out to people. So you have a real knack, more than, and I know we're seeing a lot of other people out in the field doing a lot of amazing things too. It's interesting, a lot of women have been more willing to come on shows with me than men to start with, because it's a little bit of a scary thing to put yourself out and say, I'm willing to talk about what I'm doing on something public that people are going to see. But thank you so much for the discussions we've already had, for this wonderful dialogue that comes forth when we talk, and these perceptions that you are looking at in relationship to the plasma energy. So you want to tell us just a little bit about how you see it all? And I know your dad had some kind of a connection with Tesla, or with his work. And,
it was, yeah, my grandfather, but not maybe truly with Tesla. I guess I feel like I am connected through my family lines, through the idea of releasing free energy to the world, because it has been in my past with my grandfather developing. He spent 60 years of his life putting together a motor that output more than an input. Yeah, and it did work. And yeah.
Nice. So you have it right there in your DNA.
Yeah. I really remember him telling me stories, about, the oil companies wanting to come get him, or, how he couldn't talk too openly about certain things. And I really honor, he's not, he passed away, and I never saw the motor, and I think that it burned down in a shed. I actually don't know where it went.
How long ago was that?
At least 10 years.
And
at least 10 years.
He died of natural causes?
Oh, yes. He died of natural causes. So,
but it's interesting that the shed burned down.
Yeah, it's interesting that all of his work went towards that. And so part of me wants to honor him in pushing this forward as well, just from that point as well, because all his work didn't go anywhere. But it did. It pushed the collective consciousness, and that's really where we're working all together to do now. Even if, I can't tell you I've produced a working Magrav device yet. I still have, so we have one running. Haven't had any reports on how that's doing yet. And it seems like there's some new clues going to be coming out from Mr. Keshe soon. So I have 4 sets of coils in the makings, and a couple people I promised to give those coils to. So I am looking at doing that as the next step of the project. They're just some things I don't know yet. And this has been an awesome process of that, hasn't it? We've been really having to reach for the information and to learn it. And we're putting that, when we get overwhelmed or can't think it anymore or get stopped, I really think about the gratitude that all of us together, we are pushing this into our collective genetic mind.
Yes, I love that. And I think there's so much brilliance in the way this is being taught, that it's being taught open source, it's being given out all around the world. It's basically patented to humanity, and that we're challenging literally petroleum industry as far as fuel goes. We're challenging the pharmaceutical industry as far as health goes, and the potential for increasing our capacity for food, shelter, and clean water, and really solving all of our problems on Earth. And in fact, Mr. Keshe is now a world leader in requesting governments to trade this knowledge for helping bring peace and to lay down their weapons. So this is a big movement, and because we're challenging the entire matrix of the status quo, the fact that it is being given out and added to the collective DNA, like what you're doing and what we're going to go into today on GANS making and making coils and what we do with the GANS and nano-coating. Just learning these basics is like, it's kind of like what we would have learned in elementary school or in high school science, you know. How do you do the different pieces of this, even though you don't have a working unit yet? And I love it too that you said we, because I know that you're part of a community there in Montana with other people around who are also excited
about the technology. And that's how I feel that it's going out into all these communities around the world, is that a couple people are getting excited about it. They are taking their time to research it and to get to know it. And I'm amazed that it's mid-May already. This has been quite a long journey of getting these things out. And so I'm proud to be part of that.
Cool. Well, let's go into some of the tips and tricks and techniques that you've been using. And then I think later on in the conversation, we'll talk about some of our collective mind and our moving on the planet, and how we're kind of playing with the plasma field just in our states of being. Would you like to do slides first, or would you like to just talk about something that you have there?
Let's do the slides, and then we can do the live nano coating process, the caustic process.
Okay, great. I'll go ahead and switch to screen sharing.
Okay.
And let me just change view on this. Okay, and I'll go ahead and let you just explain what each of these things are.
Okay. So this is actually just a part to be a connector right here, but it's good in showing how to wind apart. Everything on the Magravs and everything that we're building is all from hand. So it's interesting. You can see everybody's different kinds of coils. They've come up with them, taken what they've learned from Mr. Keshe in the different seminars and translated that into physical reality. It's pretty neat. Right. So I was really looking for pictures. There's a concept idea. I just see so many people using their hands and in such a loving intent way to bring peace, because they're so sure and positive that there are ways to bring peace to the earth now. And that is really where I got excited about Mr. Keshe and the plasma technology. I've been watching his seminars since October 26th. I didn't know about him and the technology before that. And I have been working on putting together a workshop to build quantum energy generators. And I've been, this last summer, I costed out everything that would take to build, well, just even the tools and all the parts and stuff. And then the plasma technology came out. And actually, it's probably good to talk about this, because I've seen some things come up where there's a lot of dissension between my idea is better than your idea, or this idea didn't work. And really the focus for all of us, I'm going to say this should be, but you know, that we are all doing this together as a collective. And if the quantum energy generator hadn't happened, we would be pushing harder now into the collective consciousness for these ideas to be coming forth.
Yes.
So I honor
kind of a collective quantum leap that's going to be made by a lot of different ideas being brought forward.
Yes, and everyone's path is perfect. There's all these different paths going on. Some people are involved in the conspiracy theory. Some people are involved in free energy movement. Some people in spirituality. There are all these paths, but really they're the same path. They're just a little bit different, unique tilt on them.
Right.
And there are a lot of people that encompass all these paths. They've been studying in every realm, you know, from the banking corruption to everything.
Right.
And
disclosure on many levels too.
Disclosure, what is really going on here on our earth.
Right.
And this is where I felt led to stand up and just do something different totally with my life. So I have not been focusing on making money. I have not been focusing on certain things. And to face that fear, the fear of not eating, the fear of not having money for something. And it showed me in some big themes on how we interact in this reality and treat each other, really, because that's what it comes down to, is how do you really want to treat the other person next to you?
Nice.
And if you believe that you need something from them, then you're already treating them in a different way than you might have treated them if you're standing totally neutral next to them.
Right.
And there is a huge fear of giving up on consuming each other's energy. It's not just the horrible Illuminati that are raping children and pedophiles. It is our fear of giving up eating food.
Beautiful.
You know?
Well said. Yes.
Yeah. And I have it. I've been eating food. I eat meat and all those things, and I'm not in my head about it. I just know that at some point these animals, they're going to have to do something similar to what we've had to do, is say, hey, stop taking our energy.
Right.
We can exist together.
Absolutely.
In a coherent way without taking from each other.
Beautifully well said. I love it.
Yeah. It's sad. I've been watching all the intentional communities, and it's not sad. Intentional communities are amazing things if you actually realize what they are.
Right.
If you come into an intentional community, you're there to work out things together.
Yes.
Most of the time, it doesn't look pretty. And it ends up, but it puts you exactly where you need to learn your next thing.
Right.
So, yeah, if you can do that in a manner where you're not slicing up your friends, you know, I've just recently, I got way overtired and overdone, you know, trying to push myself with all these things. And I actually lost a couple of friends because I wasn't able to maintain my higher self, the person who I want to be.
Right.
You know, and we all have everything in us. So the scared little child to you know, everything seems that blocks us from really being in our heart center is all trauma related.
Right. This comes back to what we teach in 21st Century Superhuman, and I travel and teach workshops in all the time. I'm working on getting some videos up on this on the website 21stcenturysuperhuman.com. But it's in the book, which is available on Amazon, both paperback and Kindle. But basically the teachings are, and they come from the ancient Aramaic, which true forgiveness, rather than saying we're letting someone else off the hook, was really intended to be us removing the corrupt data from within our own unconscious that was creating in the holographic field. So when we begin taking self-responsibility that I am a creator in this field, I'm creating, you know, everything that I'm seeing magnetized around me is coming from something inside of me. And how do I breathe, smile, offload my own old data and return to love and cooperate in that from that kind of space? And this is a really big learning for us right now, both in this quantum reality and as we're getting pushed by accelerated fields of light to wake up and get, you know, who we really are in this world.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah. So tell us, what are we looking at in this picture? It is a really nice example of winding. And is that going to be anything in particular, or it's just there to be a demonstration?
No, that's just there to be. I mean, I don't know even what I use that part for.
Right.
Part of what people were having some problems with at first with the technology was, how do you connect these wires? Because when you don't want to damage the nano-coating surface by scraping or rubbing it too much, or handling it too much. And so if you're twisting wires together that are 14 gauge wires and more, it gets pretty difficult. So a lot of I saw the first couple of months were people figuring out different ways of how we could connect these wires together. And from what I understand, as long as the nano-coating is touching each other, in a good, secure fashion, it's okay. So a lot of people, I think Armand showed an idea to do these connectors by just coiling up a piece of wire, and then you could put the other one through it instead of trying to twist them together.
Nice.
And then doing this also has made it easier to do the connections inside the coils as well, doing it this way. So finding a nail that's a little bit bigger or the same size of the whatever wire size you're using, that's kind of what I did to begin with, and then switched over. Just talked about this on Facebook today. That switched over to using a piano wire that you can get at a local hobby shop that is just a little bit bigger or the same. I don't think there wasn't at my hobby shop wasn't the same gauge as the 14 gauge, but you take I think the 14 is 0.0647, I think so. And yeah, then you find a wire that is that size or a little bit bigger. It's actually kind of nice to have it a little bit bigger so it slides through nicely and you can tighten it up. If you anneal or fire the copper bead, I would say take this piece that you see on the screen and then fire it with a torch. It's a lot easier to tighten down with your hands because it's a little more malleable.
Right. Nice.
Yeah.
All right.
So yeah, now I'm using piano wire instead of the nail there, but the nail can work. Nice. There's most of everything that to build this stuff is in your garage somewhere.
Right. And somebody even suggested knitting needles or crochet hooks. Those are nice, different sizes as well. All different sizes.
Yeah, one of the gals in our group here, she mentioned that making the coils would be the new knitting. And I love that. And then a little bit later, Mr. Keshe said that on one of the shows, instead of knitting, they're going to sit around and make coils. And
yeah, I love it.
Yeah.
So this is beautiful.
So that is a fire nano-coated coil. And the idea of Many Hands is an idea of a local workshop that anyone could make, where people could come to produce these plasmatic technology devices for the sake of peace, for themselves, for their families, there's so many disaster relief things that I haven't even really totally gotten into yet, and I feel like we've been kind of running in mud, even though it's been almost 7 months now, that there's so much more that could be done.
Right.
Especially with the ability to change the water to drinking ability.
Right.
And all that.
So Whitney, a couple of questions.
Okay.
I absolutely love and treasure these ideas you have. And I think what you are bringing forth just from within yourself, this idea of community workshops where people can come and make their own coils and learn from each other is just brilliant. I'm gonna cry because I just think it's such a great idea.
In every community.
What was that?
It's a reflection of how he has put forth the technology into the world, taking it into our responsibility, each of us individually, to physically do something for people.
Yes, I love it. And how would you make these, God, I'm sorry.
I really don't think that that idea came from me. I think that was these ideas are all coming from our collective source, and we really want to push our world forward. If we look around, it's scary and sad, and it's hard to get out of that sadness so you can stand up and feel good again, you know?
Yeah. Well, this is kind of what I'm really starting to work on and envision, is how we can take this into our own hands with community projects, with local food forests, with local energy production. And how would you use this for water purification, or was that one of the things you just mentioned?
Yeah, this specific coil wasn't meant for that, but from what I understand, if you blacken, if you're in a situation where you don't have drinkable water, that even taking some copper wires and throwing them in a fire and blackening them, and then putting those into the water and letting the water settle, that the water at the top of that jug will be drinkable.
Wow. And would you do that, would you make the copper wire into a coil, or would it not even matter?
I'm envisioning some wire mesh. But I haven't, really looked into that part yet. I think it's really important, given that there are some earth movements going on, and that we could be putting together many of these things. They're very inexpensive to do.
Right.
And that's something I'd like to go into. So maybe we could do that for another show.
Yeah.
Where we could have some time, or maybe some people could make some suggestions, or maybe someone already knows all this and would love to be on the show.
Yeah, let's do that. Let's aim for that. So what we're looking at here is, and I think I might call this show Many Hands for Peace, but also GANS making. So we'll see what we end up with by the time we get done. But so we're seeing really a double set of coils there, right? One coil inside another. And we are seeing the wire on the right-hand side. We're seeing the wire from the outer coil coming up and the inner coil going down, or excuse me, then we're seeing the inner coil going through. No, what are we seeing? Can you explain where the wires are going?
Okay.
Sorry.
Yeah, yes. So this is just one part of the whole set of the gravitational magnetical coils. This is the larger.
It's such a nice picture of how you really do the setup. So if you can just talk us through that, that would be really cool.
So there's 4 coils that go into making a gravitational magnetical coil set. And 2 of them are shorter, and they're made so they fit inside each other, and 2 are longer. And these are the longer ones that we're seeing here. The inside coil has a tail on it that's long enough to actually loop all the way back through itself again and come out. So that is how the coils are kept in a circle there. And it is actually important to have that go through. There's reasons I don't know, but it does.
It's doing that. And is it the one coming down on the right-hand side or going up in the middle? Like it goes through itself. The inner coil has a tail that is going then through itself on the left there and going all the way around and coming back out again on the right. And then
bend straight up.
Bend straight up. Okay, that's the one that's bending straight up in the middle there. Okay.
Yeah. Do you have that? Do you know that JPEG I sent you of the coil specification?
I do.
Could you put that up? We could go through that, and at the I don't know if that might help having.
Do you want to do it right now?
Well, since we're talking about it, maybe it might be good. Because if people are interested in.
Let's see. I have that in. I don't know.
So, if you can't find it, it's fine. The inner coils are gravitational and the outer coils are magnetical. So
is this it? Can you see this?
Yeah. It took a while to distill all the information into
This is
how to make
fantastic.
these coils from the.
You are just amazing. I mean, what you're doing is, I could not do this. My brain doesn't work this way. And even I have to just really sit here and study it to even get what you did. But talk us through this.
Oh gosh. I had to sit and literally I had to write physically out into longhand how to wrap these coils and study so many people's pictures on the internet just to really grasp how you do it.
Right.
So I put as much information on as I could. And if you look on the top, it says the start lead, begin coiling, turning counterclockwise to tail end. So all of the tails, or the beginnings of the coils on the left side of the specifications, that's where, from the perspective of, if you're holding the drill,
right,
and you're holding it, and it's the bar that you're rolling the coil on is poking away from you, the A would be inserted into the chuck of the drill.
Got it.
Or held there. That it would be the closest to you, and then the rest of the coil winds away.
33 turns for the shorter inner coil.
89.
Oh, 89. Sorry. Is that what that says there?
It says there, and this is not, you know, when we were studying, everything was progressing so fast 39. With everybody's innovations.
Right.
That the Keshe Foundation is using 81 turns.
Okay.
But there were some people that came with 89 because it's a prime number. And I've been using 89.
Okay, well, it doesn't say that in this very top one. It says 33, I think.
Oh.
Can you see that?
Yeah, it looks like 89 to me.
All right.
But anyway, it's supposed to be 89. If it says 33, it should be 89.
I bet it's 89. I just need, let me see, get my glasses to see this.
It's kind of small.
It is kind of small.
So right under that start
it
lead,
does say 89. Okay.
There's a bar size, 3/32 round bar. All these are in inches here because we're in America. Metrics would be way easier to use.
Okay.
To make it more standard.
Well, it's helpful to those of us who are on the good old American system.
Yeah. I thought being consistent with what we call A, B, C, D, E, F, and G, H as far as the ends of the coils would be really important. So I just started being consistent. Everybody can develop their own thing, but everything that I have, the first coil is called AB. And that means A is the start.
I would just suggest to anybody who wants to just take a screenshot of this if you're watching the video, and then you'll have this document. Be an easy way to do it.
Yeah. And I still feel like I have some measurements that aren't all on there, but it's good enough for getting going, because you do a lot of hand working of the coils after you're done wrapping them. So the smaller, one thing in making the coils is they need to fit nicely inside of themselves. So one thing was finding the round bars that would actually be the best fit, where they fit inside. There's not too much of a gap between the two.
Right.
And what we found was for the 18 gauge is 3/32, and you see halfway down it says 3/16 for the other round bar. That fits very nicely together for 18 gauge wire.
Okay.
I do have the specs for the 14 gauge, but not really in a way that I can pull them up right now for you. Okay. So finding the bars is something that takes a little bit of thought, and it's not so hard to figure it out. You take the diameter of the wire, so you have the smallest bar. You'd add 2 times the diameter, because it's going to be on both sides of the bar, and that would be the inside diameter of what your larger coil would be. And then you have to find a bar that would be about that, within a very close proximity. So, so reading this, the A lead is where the negative in of the coil starts, and this is the negative in to the gravitational. And the way I feel about the gravitational is it's a pulling in. It's a pulling.
Right. And so is that on the right or on the left side of your picture?
That's on the left. So if you look at the green A.
That's what I was thinking. Okay. A would be on the left side in the picture, and then
Right.
B would be on the right.
On the right. And that would be the end of the first coil of the first one. So what I found consistently, that 89 turns turned out to be 5 3/4 inches spaced. I have never had a counter, and if you try to count these things over and over again, you lose your mind.
Yeah.
I'm relying on the grace that of the intent to follow through. The intention. The coils will. It touches on the piezoelectric effect, where your body is talking to your minerals in your body, talking to the minerals in the coil.
Nice.
It is going to end up exactly perfect for its intended use.
Good. Perfect.
So then you want to space it out, and that's why there's above the 3 3/4 tightly wound. There's underneath it says 5 3/4 space, because you want to pull it out and space it a little bit.
Got it.
So it says a 2-inch start lead. So you'd measure 2 inches, you bend that part, and that's the part you'd put inside the drill chuck, or you'd have to tighten it down with a hose clamp or something. Sometimes the bars are too big, you can't fit the wire in there. And then sometimes the start lead's too long, you can't fit the wire in there too.
And really prescribed in a Magrav unit is 14 gauge wire, correct?
That is what I started with. And yes, for the Magrav, you do not want to use 18 gauge. If you're going to plug it into the wall, into the electricity, then I think 14 gauge is appropriate.
Right. And do you have any thoughts of what we would use coils made out of 18 gauge for?
Yes, all the coils that I made were healing devices.
Okay.
So they were not meant for electrical. Great. And yeah,
that's good.
It's a little bit less expensive wire, and all that too.
For instance, some of the helmets or the stands, or maybe some device in your home that would be putting out a plasmatic field that would be for healing. That would be more the purpose of this. Okay.
And we've felt the energy from both the 14 gauge coil sets and the 18 gauge, and they're just as strong.
Okay, great.
So as far as that goes,
it's just the question is, are you trying to hook it into a home system or not?
Right. And I will share with you the 14 gauge specs. They're just not as, I made them with the split capacitor.
Right.
So getting your head around putting on the split capacitors. So I've been altering it to not have the split capacitors on there, and try not to waste any wire, to make them pretty much as exact as possible, so that we're not wasting more wire.
Cool.
So if you continue down on that is the 89 turn shorter inner gravitational coil. It has a long tail. And that is going to loop all the way back through itself and come out the other end. That's why there's kind of two sections where it says it's 6 3/4 inch tail and 5 3/4 of it. We're still on the first one.
Okay. Yeah. So we're seeing 8.5 space, 8.5 loop back through. Oh, here it is.
Yeah. So up on to B, I just wanted to show how the specs are read in a way.
Okay.
Because B would be.
Tail. I guess I'm not seeing the tail.
You see B?
Yep, I see B.
Okay, and it says G out there.
Okay, I see it. Got it. Perfect.
Right.
And that's the tail that will wind back through itself.
Yes. And then the total wire length needed.
Perfect.
Which I would love to go double check myself again after I've changed them so many times, but that should be pretty much on.
You are so detailed. It's amazing.
Then it's mind-boggling to bend your mind around these coils. So anything that I've learned, I want to share. I just want to share it out, as many people can learn from it as possible.
Very awesome.
So B connects to C. So when you're connecting the coils together, B is going to connect to C later on.
Right.
So then if you look at C, that's the gravitational in of the smaller but longer inner gravitational coil. This is going to be for the larger set.
So if you,
or the outside.
so if you insert the smaller one on the top into the longer one right underneath it, are you going to insert them as they sit, or are you going to insert them?
So the two on the top get inserted to the two on the bottom.
Oh.
So the AB gets inserted into EF.
Oh, I gotcha. Okay, gotcha.
And this is really made this way to understand the flow.
Okay.
Because first the gravitational coils are connected, and then the magnetical coils are connected when you're connecting them all together.
All right.
And so the first two go inside the next two.
Okay.
So they both have pretty long tails. And then if you notice, it switches. So then it, instead of having it goes EF, but backwards when you go to the bottom two.
Right.
The plasma flow.
I can see the little insert box down there on the right. It has A and F together and B and E together. And then.
And all of this is when you're putting together your coils. I look at this all the time because it gets really confusing what you're looking at with your coils. And so that's why I kind of bent it this way. So D actually connects to E. Right. That's where it switches. The plasma goes from gravitational to magnetical. And then it goes to F, and then F connects to G.
Yeah. Got it.
And out.
Cool.
So that's the whole flow, and the H is the positive out to load.
Right.
And it comes out of the larger coil. The other thing that I also didn't write on here, but is really helpful to do when you're making coils, is to always look at them in a consistent way. So I always hold them where I have the D and the B and the D come out of the same side. I always had that on the left. Okay. And then the H ends up coming out of the right side. So I know, so you hold it so there's a front and a back, and it helps you when you're nano-coating, and everything just to be really consistent with how you look at the coil itself. It's so confusing. You can sit for 30 minutes trying to figure out what the A coil is, you know, the A line.
Go, girl. I want you running the community workshop lab that I come to make mine. I'm getting ready to do it in my garage here, but
oh, great.
I'm just sitting here. I've finally got room in the garage to do this in a workbench. So I'm just going to set it all up, and that's the perfect timing to be doing this video, because you're giving me just personally a lot of input that I'm going to get to put into practice right now. So thank you.
Awesome. Awesome. I'd love to help you develop it too, because I think if we can do it in a very easy, simple, not complex way, then a lot of people could come through, and so they do one little part, or they learn this part, and then they learn another part, and so they can work on those parts.
Oh, great. And you know what? I would love to, brilliant. Oh, you're just stirring my thinking. I'm thinking I'll get a few people in the community here to come in and do it too. And I'd like to print this out and just put it up on the wall, so we have it as a guide to go by as well.
Absolutely. I'll give you the 14 gauge too. And and anybody, I will also send it to you. Maybe I don't know. I posted it quite a bit on the Facebook, but I'll get you the other one too, just in case anybody wants that.
That would be great. Yeah, if you have them in PDF format, and I can put them up, figure out how to put them up so people can get them, or maybe a Facebook link to them would be helpful too.
In the community workshop, kind of, it is completely working in that not everybody can use their hands, and not everybody has time. They have a lot of requirements on their time during the day.
Right.
There's other things that they can contribute. They could contribute some needle nose pliers out of their garage, or right now I'm using my friend Deanne's drill. There's, you know, all the tools. I came with nothing.
Right.
So I have 2 bags of clothes, and that's it. God. And it has been a beautiful progression of a community's working together, and not always knowing exactly how it's going to turn out, you know. But so getting a list, I do have an equipment list that is on a Google share thing.
Nice.
And I haven't edited it in a long time. So that would be good. I could go through that and share that with you as well.
Cool. And I'll put those under the video, on the blog post, and potentially in the description. So we'll just.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So is there anything else that's, as far as this is concerned, hopefully people can read it well enough to see the resource that how it will help them.
I think that's really good. I think you just gave us, you know, the inner and outer, longer and shorter coil. You kind of showed us how to read this document, and which is really helpful. And so let's go back and look at the picture. Okay, you ready?
Okay.
Let's see. So here we are back looking at the coil. And oops, let me go into view full screen. So beautiful. So the two, can you just say what going through your, so obviously we have these two outer coils, and then we would have two inner coils that look identical to them.
Yeah, and they would be smaller. I
so
wish I had sent a whole picture of that.
That's all right. We can. You've got. We'll get to that. But
yeah, it's helpful to get to where, and I've rolled maybe 80 sets already, so I've had quite a bit of time to get used to rolling the coils.
Right.
You'll find that there's the coil. See the lines that extend into my hand from the coil. Right. They're going down into the circle.
Right.
Those are going to connect to that smaller coil inside.
Okay, gotcha.
So there's a way you can adjust the coil to have them, you know, the lines in the best spot. So H is on the left. It kind of goes to the vitality.
Okay.
The T and the A of the vitality.
Okay.
And we've got so on the other end of H is G. So the fatter outer coil G is going straight down, hits the P and the H of the hands in the piece.
Okay.
And the let's see. So D is coming through the T and the Y of the vitality.
Okay.
And so C is going straight down into the R for the 4-piece.
Okay. So, you know what, we could do a whole nother video on your coil rolling process. If you hit a time when you're doing some, maybe take some pictures and.
Yes. And a gal just said, this is an example of the community workshop working. So I do have a 45 set of these 18 gauge coils that I put it out to anyone that wants one.
Yep.
That I really just need postage. I don't have any cash for postage right now. And if they want to donate anything to the workshop, and so she sent me some postage via PayPal, and then is also sending a couple reels of wire.
Nice.
And that is kind of how the idea of the community workshop can work without money.
Nice. I love it.
This is, yeah, if we all can kind of band together, we can kind of support who's doing what. And if someone's really good at making, you know, the fan egg, the ball reactors, which I'd love to make too, you know, we can support everybody individually in what they're doing.
Yes.
Anyway.
Cool. So let's just go ahead so we can move through some of this material. You have such a detailed mind. We could just like go on for hours here, I think. But let's get an overview, and then we can come back and do more on coils at some other time. Okay? Okay. Oops, this way. And so we talked about this a little bit. Mm-hmm. What would you say we're looking at here?
This is a vial of CO2 that I'm putting into a jug of water.
Right.
And the idea here is that to show that we can I'm actually not sure. I will tell you this, is that I'm not sure what fields are getting through the plastic.
Right.
I think that glass is better to use.
Right.
And there are some people that could say, well, I don't know if I could, taste or, there's a change in it, but we have these, like your glass that you have, right?
Right.
So the GANS is separated from the water by plastic, but the plasma is infusing the water still.
Right. So I think I can be seen here. So I have a double, whoops. Oh, I didn't know that was at the top. I have a double walled glass with GANS water in it. And then I just set a glass of water in there to be kind of potentized by the GANS water, the energetic of it. And I think we're still in the learning process of all the things that we can do with it and how to actually accomplish.
Yes, and the more people that kind of get curious about it, we're developing it all together.
Right, absolutely. Okay, so
this is actually just a little bit of aluminum foil, but it's going to go into the nano-coating that we're going to show after we're done with the picture. So this is a picture of some aluminum foil. I put it in with the caustic nano-coating process.
Okay, did you heat it or anything? Because it looks like it's a little black.
No, it's just the lights that are shining off of it in a different way. So here we have the food grade NaOH, and I really am strongly suggest using this and not the plumbing supply.
Right.
I really hurt myself, I think, the first time I used I brazed the powder.
This can be ordered through Amazon, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah, just, type in food grade sodium hydroxide. This is Molly's product. They were really awesome. They've gotten, every time I've ordered, it's been here right away. So I think they're a good company to work with.
Cool.
And then this is KOH, potassium hydroxide. And that's another salt. It just use maybe 10 or 15 flakes of it every time. It's not something to use a lot of.
And where do you get this, and why do you use it?
When I was learning how to use the process, I remember someone saying that the KOH needs to be all over the coils. It came up somewhere in some discussion, and so I've been doing it. I can't give you the absolute reason.
Okay, and where do you get it?
Same place as you just type into Amazon KOH or KOH, it'll come up as.
Okay.
So this is a strained wood ash. I took some ashes from my fire stove and watered them through rinsed them through a mesh. And then kind of have enough wood ash to make a lot of coils. So the wood ash helps. I think it's almost making like a natural graphene type surface, but it's nano surface.
So let me ask you, I have a whole bucket of wood ash outside, and so I'm going to get ready to start using it. It's from outdoor fires that we've had here. But so I went online and looked at how to make natural lye from wood ash. And what you do is, you fill the bucket up with water, and then you let it sit there for about 4 hours. You stir it, and then you strain it, and you take away the solid part, and then you cook it down in a pan, and you can cook it down until it actually turns into flakes. Then you have basically natural lye. But what you are doing is taking you've added water to wood ash, and then Yeah,
I took the particles out, strained the particles, and then I just add this to the GANS when I'm coating the coils, each coating.
And so you will really you are using kind of a natural, I think it must be really alkaline. I mean, you're using really a natural sort of lye, actually.
And it's interesting because the lye, that whole process of getting the lye from the wood ash, it really struck me how Mr. Keshe speaks about our bodies being, a handful of minerals and ash and water and salt.
Uh-huh.
The water and salt pop us into this this, I don't know how we how we look now.
Right.
So
we're going into kind of GANS making here. I should have said that at the beginning because we really went into coils to start with. And are the coils coated with GANS that you made there, or they're just nano-coated?
They're fire nano-coated, caustic nano-coated, and six layers of different GANs.
Great. So
in the specific sequence that Mr. Keshe put forth to create a dynamic rotation in the plasma.
Perfect. So we are really looking at kind of a composite, multi-layered project here, which includes coils that might be used for health uses or making a better field in your home, and the layers of GANS that will go with that and how we make that GANS. Okay. So in this strained wood ash, you're taking out the particle matter and you're going to use the liquid. Is that correct?
I've already taken out the particle. Most of that is just small particles. I just put that right into the with the raw sugar. Yeah.
Did you strain that through like a food strainer?
Yeah, a little wire mesh.
Okay.
It was quite messy.
It does seem pretty messy to work with.
It's not when you want someone to walk in and say, what are you doing? And some organic sugar. So together, that seems to make a really nice coating with the GANS.
Okay.
So yeah, so that's just a picture of a teaspoon of wood ash and a teaspoon of sugar.
Okay. And
then adding the GANS to that. Now, what we're moving away from now is actually putting any particles, the white particles,
right,
are in the GANS at all. We would want that water completely settled and clear, and only using the plasma infused water, because the GANS is a particle. The plasma is created out of the interaction of the fields of the particles of the GANS. We want the free plasma.
Right.
So the set I just went through has a little bit of particles, mostly plasma water in there. Wow. And then you just drip that all over your coil, let it drip, and I put them in a...
This is ash water, sugar, and GANS water, basically.
Mm-hmm.
And you dip your coils in that and then hang them up to dry?
Hang them up, and I put them in the oven.
Okay. Why the oven?
Just to get it nice and warm. I think the sunshine would be great too. Haven't had a lot of days of really hot sunshine.
Right. I'm in a warm, sunny climate here, so I bet we could probably even hang them up on a clothesline outside or something.
Yes, I think that they would actually like that.
Or how do you hang them so you're not removing the GANS from them?
So I normally hang them on there's two wires coming out of them, the in and the out. So I just bend that's why we leave the out so long.
Right.
So I bend that and use that to hang it with.
Wow. So
it's just a picture of
here. What have
this is getting ready for a caustic steam process.
Okay. And
actually, we're going to do this live. I still have these three pieces that they just haven't been completely blackened to my preference. So we're gonna put those in today again too.
So you're initially doing you're using heat for nano-coating first, and then you are caustic nano-coating, right? And
the heat nano-coating with the torch, it really falls off.
Okay. But because all of these coils are copper coils and you've already heat nano-coated them, you don't really need another nano-coated piece of copper in there with them. You're just using a plain piece of copper, right?
These okay, I see where you're getting for the GANS production.
No, for the nano-coating. Like usually in nano-coat. No. I'm sorry. I'm going into GANS production with my mind here. So why do you have plain copper in here with them?
because I want to nano-coat it for GANS production, so I have some sheets
Okay.
of nano-coated copper.
Oh, okay.
And I want
So
to,
you're going to nano-coat those too while you're doing it.
yeah.
Okay.
You'll find that there's a lot of things to think about to put in that GANS, in the caustic, bucket before you do it. You want to try to combine anything that you've been working on.
Okay.
So it's quite a long process, because you do it over several days, and might as well put as many things in there that you want to nano-coat at the same time.
Exactly. And so these have not been dipped in GANS yet, right? You would wait to dip them in the GANS until after you've done
Right.
the second.
Right here, we're just growing the blackened layer.
Okay.
That is unpacking the molecules of the copper and making it superconductive.
Great. Perfect.
Yeah. So that's a picture of one of the completed 18 gauge coils that I'm making available to people if they want them.
Beautiful. Beautiful, beautiful.
So here we go, more with the different layers of GANS. There's really four main ones that are used. CO2, which is that kind of off-white one in the middle there. CUO2, which is the green one. It's also the black one there.
And you might mention the CO2 is made with zinc and nano-coated copper, right? And then
Yes, yeah, you're right. The CO2 is made practically the same way as the ZNO or the ZNO2. I'm not quite sure what qualifies something to be an O2 or an O on the end.
Yeah,
I'm really learning still.
right.
So the CO2 is made with a zinc plate, a nano-coated copper item or plate, and you put an LED. An LED has a positive in and a negative out, or whatever it is. You connect the negative to the nano-coated plate, or a nano-coated wire connected to the nano-coated plate, and the positive to the raw metal side.
Right.
It really works that way, and you have to be patient. It takes several days.
Say that one more time.
It really does work that way. It takes patience.
It's the positive to the negative is what? What are you hooking to it?
Oh, the LED light.
Okay.
So you want to create a little drain,
right?
And get things moving through there. So the negative of the LED light would be attached to the nano-coated side.
Okay.
And the positive of the LED to the raw side.
Right. So it's black to black. Yeah.
And it takes a couple days for the field interactions to get going, so it starts producing a lot of particles. So a lot of people kind of go, oh, it's not working. Right. You leave it. Sometimes I've left them for weeks.
Right.
Yeah. And the zinc is sorry?
You go ahead.
The zinc is the same way, but you can use a battery. I've used a 9-volt battery for the zinc oxide. So it's a zinc plate with the nano-coated copper plate, and I've used a D battery. Or you can do a really long bin with several sheets of zinc at different places, and you can hook the first one up to the battery and the last one leave out, and you'll get CO2 way at that end, and you'll get zinc oxide at one end.
Wow. And so if you are hooking a battery into that, to those plates, how are you doing it?
Would take for the raw side, you attach a raw piece of copper wire, not nano-coated, to the raw zinc plate. And then I just bend the end and use the electrician's tape and tape it onto the positive of the battery.
Okay, sweet.
And then take a nano-coated wire and tape it onto the negative side of the battery, and that's what gets hooked to the nano-coated part.
Sweet. Well, you know what's really interesting? Oh my gosh, I'm blowing my own mind. I'm sitting here looking at a sarong where I'm living a piece of fabric, and it has some glyphs on it that are printed from ancient glyphs, and it has what looks like a bent copper rod that we would put through the middle of a coil for a healing pen. I'm just looking at, I need to go look these glyphs up that are on my fabric, because they look
Interesting.
like some ancient teaching. So anyway, that's great, because I have thought to myself, wow, I know I could use a battery to accelerate this, or maybe I have an old battery that's maybe not completely drained but won't run a regular item anymore. And I've thought, and I thought, how would I hook it on there? And I just never quite figured it out. So you explaining that one simple thing of just, you know, bending the copper wire and electrician taping it on there or duct taping it on there is just perfect.
And there's, I think the darker, like that CUO2 that's really dark right in the middle of that picture.
Right.
It probably had, I think that the more charge you put on it, you might get black CO2 or whatever.
Okay.
I think it's still usable though. This is what I'd like more clarity on.
So the one,
the blue.
So the one all the way to the right is CO3, right? Which is made with nails or iron.
Okay, yeah, the CH3, the red one, the brick red. Mm-hmm.
And then,
I'm learning that one is best with an LED light as well, not a charge. You can get, it really comes out black.
okay.
I haven't really perfected in getting another growth of that lately.
And then the blue one is made with copper, a copper plate, nano-coated and nano-coated. And then the two on the left are
zinc. They're different qualities of zinc. If you go to the next picture, just showing how these things settled. So this is actually literally within a minute. If you see on the left side, that ZNO on the left is already clear on the top.
Right.
And I think that is a composite. It's pretty light and fluffy. Zinc oxide is normally kind of granular and really heavy. So I think it's a mixture of CO2 and zinc oxide. And it seems to settle super fast. It gets clear and super fast. And so maybe CO2, what Mr. Keshe has been saying, is a connector. So maybe a mixture of both actually helps them settle better.
Nice.
Because the ones on the left side, the green and the red one, they take over a day
to settle. I know you're kind of showing the settling process in these pictures.
Yeah, I was going to time it, but I didn't have time before work yesterday to do that. But I'm going to put up a stopwatch and take pictures over a day and a couple times. So yeah. Also, I wanted to point out, it's good if you're just getting going, buy wide mouth jars.
Yes, and you can buy those. You can buy those at a hardware store, and you can buy them at places like Walmart. I mean, over the years, I consistently go out and get myself a case of, it's about, I don't know, $12 to $20 for a case of wide mouth canning jars. Mm-hmm.
You can get your hand in them when you're washing them. It's just way easier to use a wide mouth and a big enough one. So if you see some of your GANS won't settle in a jar because it's too small. It needs a bigger jar. And I found just getting these bigger jars is easier to deal with.
Nice.
So yeah, that was after 4 minutes, 6 minutes.
Cute. That's really cool. You're so scientific. I love it. So, and the reason the one turned black was, tell us again.
I just think it maybe had a higher voltage when we made it.
Okay. And do you think it's
really black in person? It's more bluey, but from the picture it looks black.
And you think it's still, what would you call it?
It's CuO2. It's copper oxide.
Okay. And you think it's still usable. And so,
oh, absolutely, yeah.
You're using all these different ones. You're making 6 coatings on your coils using each of these, right?
Yes.
And do you have them lined up from heaviest to lightest in the picture?
This picture is arranged in a different way than I normally do it. There's how I normally got them in there. That's the flow of how I've been using them on the coils. CO2, I've made some pure form CO2, so I use that as the first coating.
Right.
And then my regular CO2
Right.
as the second coating, and then the zinc oxide, and then copper. I do both the copper, so the aqua colored copper and the darker copper, and then a CH3.
Right. And then I know some people are using brass or silver in their layering. I think that's more for the power units. Lately, I've been hearing about that.
Oh, interesting. Got some of that. Good.
I mean, I found pieces of brass at the thrift store. So I think there's different things we can pick up that, and some people are using titanium also.
Oh.
I don't know about for health coils, but I think for power units. But maybe it's all the same. I don't know. What do you think?
I think that this is what we're learning is we're going to learn now the finer points of how the atomic weight. I think Mr. Keshe was talking about that in the last
yeah,
seminar.
I just heard that in the last workshop or the one before. They were kind of talking through the different weights of the GANSs and stuff.
Yeah, that you take the atomic weight divided by 4. So blood was, this is just what I wrote from the notes from the thing the other day. Blood was 56 to 57. The emotion in zinc was 60, 61. And then, so the blood would be CH3. Emotion in the zinc, 60, 61. And then what's the other one? CO2. I don't have my paper here.
That's all right.
But at that time.
Interesting. Yeah, cool.
So what I'm really getting about that is that all these healing things, the reason that they're healing is that they have frequencies that are more in line with our highest and best version of ourselves.
Nice.
And the healing trickles very slowly. It's important to be patient. People use the pen, a couple times and they say, well, it's done. Or they use the pad and it doesn't work. But it takes time.
Right. I've heard Mr. Keshe say 3 months, 3 months of continued application, because we're changing the whole dynamic of our energy field.
And all of these things are made from the very fundamental things that make up our bodies, the amino acids of our bodies. So they've got carbon, hydrogen, was it CHON, oxygen, and nitrogen, and that our emotional body is, or the emotional crystal line center of our body would be made out of the interaction of the fields of 3 of these, and then the soul, the interaction of 4. So
listen to you.
Yeah,
I thank you for sharing your accumulated knowledge with us. It's really helpful.
Yeah, thanks for allowing me to share it. I think I've forgotten more than I've learned here. So.
There's a lot to learn. Well, let's get through these slides, and then we have a couple of real life things to show us too.
So this is just a try with hot springs water. I think we might have covered this in the last show. I'm not quite sure.
I don't remember it, but that's okay. Go ahead.
Yeah, this is the components. Took some snow water, some hot springs water, Celtic sea salt, and NaOH, and basically just warmed up a pan of the hot springs water, because the GANS really likes to be warm. It'll make a lot more if it's in a warm environment.
Really interesting.
Yeah, I always put it over a heater vent, or some people have used a cup warmer, like some kind of continuous cup warmer.
Brilliant.
Yeah. So then for this, I just combined everything in the bottle and let it sit, and that's how the GANS formed. It was pretty neat.
So you combined. Did you combine all 3 of these, or you're just saying no?
I did. I combined the hot springs water because that has so many minerals in it. We don't have the seawater here.
Right.
We're not close to the ocean, but we have lots of hot springs, and so if we're looking for a really broad range of GANs that'll give us that. And
Nice.
the snow water also is kind of akin to the ocean water. It's got all the particles in it.
Right.
Celtic sea salt, because a friend gave that to us to to use for the GANs, and it made some really nice GANs. I'll show you when we turn on the camera in a little bit. I'll show you what it turned out to be.
Nice. And so you're using, I'm going to just say for those who don't know or who are having trouble putting everything together, that this is the water that we use to put the two plates in that precipitate the GANs out.
Yeah, yes.
Want me to go back?
Well, this was it was where they're making C GANs, and they're just combining the stuff in a jar, shaking it up, and leaving it overnight.
Right.
This is a different way of making GANs.
So are
the
you
water?
Saying you put the plates in this water, or
no,
okay.
Just put you heat up. I got it warm, the hot springs water, but then I heated up to a boil, a really rapid boil, the snow water. I put some granules from the NaOH in a separate jar, and I poured the boiling water in that to get the reaction that you want. You want that reaction. Okay. And then I poured that in. I'd already put the salt into the hot springs water, and I poured that into the jug and then let that sit. That's that specific one there.
Okay, so you're not even, and so what kind of GANs are you ending up with when you do that?
We don't know. It's a mixture of all the particles that are in the snow water and the hot springs water.
Okay,
but it feels nice.
What's interesting is that's really how you make ormus. There's a little bit of a science to it, but
gotcha.
And I've made ormus before. And I said to somebody when we first started doing this, oh, wow, making, GANs is kind of making plasma or making ormus. And, I had people say to me, oh, no, it's not. And I'm like, yes, it is. But basically, you're putting the really alkaline substance, which is the lye or the food grade lye, into the water. And that has a certain mineral content. Like I was making it with dead sea salt. And so I was using dead sea salt water, and I used that for my first GANs, which came out fantastic because there's minerals in that water. But that was with the two metal plates. So, so you're talking about making GANs by just adding, I'm seeing a giant butterfly outside, and it's starting to it's starting to rain. It's beautiful. So I'm trying to keep my mind on the conversation here.
Well, we don't need to get, that was just a test that I was doing. If you want to.
So the question is, would you use this GANS on your coils?
No.
No. Okay.
Remember, Heather Bryant had sent her C GANs to the guy that did the frequency testing.
Right.
And it tested just a little bit lower than the other ones.
Okay.
And this is it. I just wanted to do it as a test on my own to see what would happen.
Well, it's good. I think it's good that we're all out here experimenting, and I think there's value to it. And you're right. In our last show, Heather had talked about the guy doing the frequency testing on the different kinds of GANs. So good. All right. Should we leave this topic? And I see food grade hydrogen peroxide sitting there too. Or is that food grade?
Yeah, that's food grade NaOH.
Anyway, all right. Let's go on.
So I can show, if you want, the GAN setups I've got going on right now.
Let's do that. So basically, this is your coils drying once they've had GANs on them, right?
Yes.
All right, I'm gonna let you go ahead and walk around and I'll put you on full screen, and I'll mute myself because I've got rain pretty loud here.
Okay. All right, so this is the CUO2, CH3, and CO2 production going on right here.
Can you mention the metals along with the letters, the numbers, because I think people just have all different levels they're trying to translate this from.
Yes, so this one right here is copper, raw copper with a nano-coated copper piece. And this has been about 5 days. So it's not going very fast here, but what I've got it hooked to is an LED from Lowe's, and it comes with this, you can get a bracket for it. So this is a screw-in LED light. This is not maybe the best way to go, but it's the only way I could get for these, to get LEDs. And then the positive is hooked to the raw metal side. You can see the green clamp. It's a lot of extra wire here.
Awesome.
It doesn't have to be this way.
Awesome to see that. Thank you for taking the time to do this, Whitney. Go ahead. Just keep talking.
So here's the negative, and that's hooked to, well, we went to the recycle center, and we found this kind of interesting copper bar that had all these bumps on it. We thought that might make really good GANS. So copper nano-coated, but if you look inside there, it's kind of the nano-coating's kind of coming off. So I'm going to redo these in a bit, but at least it shows that it's making something there. So the same thing, a CH3 also likes an LED. And
CH3 has iron in it, right?
CH3 has iron, and it's associated with the, I'm sorry, my phone's running out of juice. That's not good. Okay. So CH3, I didn't have any iron sitting around. I took one of my piano wires and bent it all up and put it in here. And wasn't quite sure if I could connect directly with the alligator clip to the raw, so I just did a little bit of a copper jumper between there. And then on this side, I got the alligator clip. Up until now, I've been caustic nano-coating extra wire and actually using that wire to connect to the nano-coated pieces. But here I just clipped the, trying to get the right angle so you can see it. Just clip this directly to that bar. Now, I tore apart a little toy that got broken the other day, and there's a little LED light in there. So, I labeled the positive side. That goes to the raw, and the negative is going. They're not touching, but it almost looks like they are. Don't want them touching, but I couldn't figure out how to strip. Is that clear?
Yes.
Yeah, I couldn't figure out how to strip that really delicate wire, the coating around it, so I could get the clips on a little further down. But today it was showing some more red. It's I'm not completely satisfied this is the best way to do all these, but it is going. Here we've got zinc, 2 zinc plates. Here's the negative. It's hooked to the first raw zinc plate and then jumped over to the second plate. And I've got the nano-coated piece in the middle, and that's hooked to the negative from the LED light. So in there, you can there's actually amino acids being formed on the top.
You said negative on the zinc, but I think you meant positive, didn't you?
Okay.
Positive to the zinc.
You're right. You're right. The positive always goes to the raw metal side.
Yeah. So
you can kind of see in there, if I shake it up a little bit, they really do like to be left alone and not shooken up like that. But it takes a while for the field interaction to start. And that's when they say that you can see sometimes like a hexagonal shape in the top of the stuff floating on the top.
Nice.
The stuff floating on the top is amino acids.
Right.
And that's what you want to collect if you're, for those feeding systems, they're talking about amino acids.
For what systems?
For
the pen of life or whatever? Can't.
Yes.
Oh, man. Cool.
So that's what you want to collect off the top. So what's in here is a salt, about a 10% salt solution. And this is also something. I take the water from my caustic nano-coating process and keep it in a jug. And I just put a little in here too, but not in the blue one. The CH3, the iron, and the zinc can get it, but not the blue one.
Interesting. That must be some little tidbit you collected along the way.
Yeah, I had to really search through my notes to be sure to tell you on the show today about that. I'd look everywhere. I found it yesterday. So yay, I found it.
Cool.
On that. But it is producing. This is doing quite nicely. There's I don't know if you can see the particles.
Yeah, we can see the cloudiness there.
Cloudiness.
Yep.
I mean, it's really exciting to make them with the battery because there's just stuff, you know, it's just going. It's really awesome. I mean, it's like a science. It's so much fun to make this stuff. You get kind of addicted to it.
Yeah, I know. It's like having a little living science lab in your house.
Yeah, and I'll show you some amino acids. I kind of have to have my phone plugged in now, so.
Okay. Nice. Cool.
This looks like milk.
Yeah.
So you do the same thing. You collect those off the top and you rinse it 3 times or more. You want all the salt rinsed out of these things.
Right. So I'm going to want to ask you about making the food pens too, but let's go ahead and finish what you're doing and then let's go to that.
The food GANS or which one?
Yeah, I mean, we haven't really talked about food GANS. Well, oh man, I mean, I'm just trying to understand if a person wanted to make the cannon that had the food stuff in it to put in a glass of water, potentize it with food qualities.
Okay, you would.
I knew you had this in your little tree there.
This is not the actual GANS, but these are the particles. This is peanut butter.
Okay, so
Adam's peanut butter.
So is this? Have you added caustic water to the food itself in order to get this?
Yes, it took a medium-sized jar, heated up some water. I put here's cashew. So I put some cashews. It's actually way better to chop up and make whatever you're doing pretty fine. It works way better that way. And so then I put like 1/8 of a cup of the lye in with the particles, and then poured in boiling water.
Okay.
And then let that sit until you kind of get this separation. If you put too much food particles in there, it gets nasty. It's just like your stomach, so it smells pretty bad. But then once you get the particles at the bottom, you collect those and you rinse those out, and this is what you're seeing from that process. That's the end of that.
So again, do you do you're actually at some point, do you start pouring that water off and putting clean water on it and rinsing it?
Yeah. Yes, because you want to rinse all the salt off, and you want to take the particles off the bottom as well.
But you haven't put any salt water per se in there. You just put lye in there with the water.
Right. The NaOH is salt.
Okay. And so once you have it rinsed, once it's percolated, how long are you letting it sit and percolate there?
These I started on February 14th, and I just did it whenever I could. It's a lot. It's pretty time consuming.
Right.
You get into, here's vegetables. I'll do vegetable one. And then I think if I would have known to begin with to really make the food fine, It would have been a lot easier process to do, and add enough salt. If you get a little, chunks in there, that's past the stage. I rinsed them all, and this is their final stage before adding them to the CO2.
Okay, so you say before adding them to the CO2, you just lost me.
Okay, so the last stage of these are not done.
Okay.
These are just the particles.
So let's review what we did. So what we did is chopped up food, and you're using a specific kind per jar, put it in the bottom of the jar, put some caustic in there, some caustic flakes in there. And about how much did you say? Like an
eighth of a cup.
Eighth of a cup. So that would be a tablespoon. No, 2 tablespoons kind of. And then you poured boiling water in it, and then you let it
put the top on it.
Put the top on and let it sit. And basically what you're letting it do is digest those food particles, right?
Yes. Because then you want the particles at the bottom. And the longer you let it go, and then you pour the top off and add more water, pour the top off, add more water, several different times until you can get it down to something like that.
Okay. And then, go ahead.
Then you would take this and put it into that zinc. You put it into here. That one. The zinc and nano-coated copper one.
You'd put it in there?
Yep.
And then you're turning it into GANS that
is
permeated with the energetic of that food.
This is the only one that I've actually done. Yeah, prime rib.
So what would happen if you took all of those and just, why do all the separate foods? What if you just did like a mishmash of, vegetables, olive oil, maybe a piece of fish or whatever it is that you eat?
I think that would be probably perfect. That's part of why they're not done, is that you have to get a CO2 bin working.
Right.
And then you put this in there. Well, then you got to clean everything off completely to have it completely separate as a food group. So I'm not quite sure what the next stage of that is, but that's, you're right. I could just take some particles from every one of these,
right,
put it into the CO2, and there we'd have it.
And then I would think you could use that in a health cannon, right? What would you think of using it in? Would you think of coating coils with it? Since you're the coil mistress here?
Boy, I think it would be good in a pen, wouldn't it?
It would be good in a pen. Did you see the one, the show with the pen where he had a cannon, so he had a bigger, fatter pen, and he had put food GANS in it, I think, and he was, potentizing,
infusing his water. He just swished it in his
right,
and it wasn't even touching. It was like inside of a pen. Yeah, he just swished it in the water.
right,
and he had diabetes.
Yeah,
and didn't need to eat.
Exactly. So I would think it'd be pretty cool to take a little bit of each of those jars that you have and go ahead and make some GANS with the whole mixture, and then maybe try it in a pen, or maybe some of the things. Or I was thinking, well, would I put my smoothie ingredients in one thing with my green powders, and then would I put my salad stuff in another one, or would I just put them all in together? Here I am, from the other end of the science laboratory, I'm more into the nutrition and how would we transmit this nutrition to ourselves. And then I'm thinking I'd love to put some of the amino acids in there too. And then you start getting away from, I don't eat animals. I haven't in ever, many years. But, then potentially you're building a health pen that's got the amino acids in it too.
Which would make sense. And then Mr. Keshe also said that if you're in a, where you don't have any food, say there's a natural disaster.
Right.
If you have some of these amino acids collected, you can rub this on the outside of a glass, put some plastic wrap around that so you don't touch it, and you put water in the glass and drink from that water. And building blocks of what we're made of. So in the very essence, it is food.
I'm excited. Oh man, I'm
Yeah.
excited. This is an exciting conversation because I've had all these things kind of churning around in my mind. And the fact that you've got all of these things there made, Whitney, it's just wonderful. And we're getting to see them.
I was locked up with no vehicle for the last 4 months in the middle of the woods alone. So I got a lot done. It was awesome.
And you moved and brought all this stuff with you. Good girl.
Yeah. Well, actually, I did a lot of the stuff I left up in the town because a lot of people had contributed to the making of it. So most of the coils and everything all stayed there, and made sure that they had enough GANS and other things to do some pain pads and stuff like that with, and stuff. So,
Cal, this is so exciting. You know, I'm even thinking the way that Heather was making pain pads. I mean, you could take, if once you made this GANS water with the foods, you could make any kind of container that would hold it. You know, you could make, you know, a double walled cup like I have here and just put water in that. You could make a cannon and stir it. You could make, even make a pad probably. And
yeah. And who knows, could you make a crystal ball that does, you know, you could put all the stuff in the middle and it could just sit in the middle of your town and radiate food to everybody.
Oh my gosh, I love this idea.
That's where we want, you know, we're looking at these solutions. It's time, let's have some good solutions to the problems that are going on. And if people are getting their basic needs met, the energy in their body, then that takes a lot of worry and stress over trying to eat all the time.
It does. And then we just have to figure out how we share land and housing so it isn't, you know, co-opted by only the few. You know, there was a guy, I don't know what country, he was in Austria, I think, who on the, I think it was the 113th Knowledge Seekers, and he had made the balls and he'd made these really nice little units with them, and they were experiencing the energy field changing in their houses, and they were trying to make a number of them for the town that he lived in, and he was saying, well, how many do we need to make? And it's so much fun, like this whole community project idea that you have, where we can start making these things as a community and shifting the energy of our communities. I mean, this is fantastic.
Yeah, that's what's exciting. You know, you have a homeless shelter, put in a feeding system, you know, even if they're eating still, they're getting the nutrients from their bodies. Cats and dogs and your animals.
Yeah. Thank you for your beautiful representation of all of this stuff. And start putting this in China so they don't have to eat cats and dogs anymore, in Vietnam, and all these like crazy things that are going on in the world.
Well, I know that you wanted to try to keep to about an hour, but we could finish up. The water's the water's boiling here.
Go for it, girl. Just show me what you got there.
Okay, so we're going to put these coils these are going to be Magrav coils.
Okay. And what do you have in that pan? Beautiful.
So we have 12 of these 14 gauge, beautiful, beautiful coils.
Nice.
And they've been fire nano-coated.
And so just for those who don't know, they are double. Each coil is double, 2 coils. So there's 4 coils there. And again, you said 14 gauge, so they're for a Magrav unit. Beautiful. And so you've nano-coated them with heat, which means you've expanded the molecular structure, the atomic structure, so that they can receive the flow of plasma.
And that coating actually looks like it's not going to come off. It looks like pretty good, but they have been through one caustic steam already.
And and did you do that with did you do your heat with a gas stove or with a burner, with a, what do you call it, a torch thing?
So hold on. Oh, I dropped it. No good. Here's another thing. One thing I learned in developing these technologies, the idea is to keep the workplace calm. When I do this, I feel really horrible. That don't want to bang on these things and break them, but you can. There, I just dropped it. So I just grab some gloves in a bit and I'll reshape it. You know, you feel bad when that happens, but it's okay.
Yeah,
That's
it's
why,
okay. And we got to see the, you know, the maestro at work here, and you know, sometimes.
So there's the.
Cool. So you're using that kind of a torch. Okay. Beautiful
Yeah.
torch.
And they're about $30, $40 to get one of these tips.
Okay.
And the tanks are super cheap.
Okay.
This is probably only the 4th tank I've gone through in 80 coils, so that's not bad.
That's good. And so do you hang them up to do that with them, or how do you?
I grab them with a pair of pliers.
Okay, and just hold them and back and forth. Okay.
And I could prop this up and try to do one, show you right now.
That's all right. I think if you feel like it, go ahead. I mean, I think we've seen it, but if you feel like it, go ahead. If you don't, it's all right. Because I know you.
Just because I got to hold my phone since it's attached to the wall now. So.
So what you're doing right now is in that.
We're gonna.
Go ahead.
We're gonna prep this bucket for the caustic steam.
Okay.
So we get a caustic nano-coating on these coils.
Okay, perfect.
And first, I'm going to use the NaOH, the food grade. And this is like cooking, so it's a little bit on intuition here.
Right.
So I just put in enough to cover the bottom.
Okay.
And the KOH, a very little. See, it looks like flakes in there. You see that?
Yes.
That was just a very little. Ooh, that's a more, yeah, just a very little. A dash. And then this is my wire mesh. I use some glasses to hold it up so that, because the coils can kind of weight it down, and I don't want them, in the steam process, you don't want the coils inside of the water that's going to accumulate. You just want the steam.
Beautiful. Look, if you got hair bands on there, what a great, or just
zip ties.
Zip ties. Beautiful. Really nice.
All right. So aluminum. So the way that you make, I also put aluminum bits in here. The aluminum gets eaten up. And I'm trying to remember where.
Don't you think there's a little bit? Don't you think there's a little aluminum on that hardware cloth too, or is that zinc, or I don't know what's on it, but I noticed mine changed when I did caustic in there with it. Mm-hmm. And you know, I've been hearing about aluminum, but I didn't know what to do with it. So I love seeing what you're doing. Thank you.
So wasn't it nitrogen GANS that you make with aluminum? I'm not quite sure.
I have no idea. Whatever.
I'm sorry, I don't have all the answers right there, but okay. So then I'm just going to put the coils in. I'll reshape that coil later.
At this point, you don't worry about wearing gloves yet?
Okay.
Whitney, at this point,
where you need to put gloves on.
You don't worry about wearing gloves yet at this point when you're moving?
No, you need to put gloves on.
But I mean, when you're moving the coils, you didn't. So, but you will.
I didn't.
Right?
I think that, right, yeah, when I got the caustic on them, you definitely want your gloves.
Right.
And I think there is something about aligning the particles with your DNA. There's something, we could get into that. I don't know all the answers to that, but
right.
The less you touch them, you're right, is absolutely the better.
Right. Okay. So you're putting gloves on right now. Yep. Gotcha. And you have boiling water.
So it's in a nice rolling boil. And I'm going to put this outside. And here's those sheets of copper that I wanted better nano-coated.
Nice. Did you nano-coat those with heat, or, oh, you want them better nano-coated, so you're adding.
Yeah, see, they're not.
Cool.
Not quite done. So, all right, I'm just gonna, I've got the lid here as well. You kind of, for this process, you want everything available and ready, because it's better to not let as much steam out as possible.
Thank you for walking around with your phone and doing this. I know it's a little
All right, you heard the sound. Did you hear the sound?
Oh, yeah.
Rush, that's what you want to hear. If you don't hear that, redo it. It just won't make any sense. So that you leave for 24 hours.
You actually seal your lid at that point. I like that.
Yes.
Yeah,
seal the lid.
I've been doing it in a crock pot. So,
oh yeah.
But I kind of, the crock pot seemed to boil over and sort of, I don't know, I'm just figuring that out too, but I really like your bucket method. That's very cool.
Yeah, it used to have some wires in it that hang stuff on, but those got eaten by the salt. So that's a caustic steam process, and you do that twice at least.
That is
You can
awesome.
do it more if you want.
Very cool. Very, very cool.
So there's that was great. We did it. Yay!
Yay! So Whitney, give me a couple of just previews of what you're going to do next. So we're really actually looking at where you have a bunch of coils hanging, which is beautiful. And are those ones that have already been?
Yeah, these are all done and they're ready to go.
And those have been GANS coated 6 times or whatever, right?
Yep. Yes. And they are very active. So what I found with working with the coils is that you send it hard energy.
Uh-huh.
You know, you work with it with appreciation and gratitude.
And what is it? Oh, we lost you. Are you still there? Hello, Whitney. Hello, hello. Hello, hello. Hey, Whitney, did you come unplugged? Hello, hello. I hope you come back. Hello? Whitney. Well, maybe we'll call this the end of the show. I'm really thankful for Whitney having been here. We'll see if she comes back. Oh, looks like she isn't. So I'm just going to say many blessings to everyone. Do your own experiments, get your own community going, and we'll be doing more of these kind of shows. Okay, much love, many blessings. Adios. See you soon.